Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about Mel Tucker's case. And if you don't know who Mel Tucker is, he was a football coach at Michigan State University, and the university fired him on September 27th because of allegations regarding sexual harassment. And so I want to go through that with you and see if I can add a little context here from some of the later reporting that is coming out. Before I get started, though, I want to say one thing, and that is I have represented people on both sides of the sexual harassment problem. In one case, we represented a young woman who not only had sexual harassment, but racial harassment at work, and we were able to help secure her trial victory. In another case, I had a gentleman who was probably a little insensitive and to a certain degree clueless, who said some things that he probably shouldn't have said to other people, but not to the person who actually brought allegations of sexual harassment against him. And in her case, this was her third attempt at getting a payout from sexual harassment. The first time she did it badly, and she was arrested for making a false police report. The second time, she did it better because she went up against somebody who was a state employee, a county employee, and the county just sounded retreat and left the poor guy hung out to dry, paid her some money so she'd go away. The third time she went after a state employee, and we were able to demonstrate her prior history of lies, her pattern and practice of lies. We had her multiple times. She included a false rape allegation that she made against somebody that she couldn't even identify, supposedly. I think that was actually a situation where there was some attention-seeking behavior. And as a result of that, I thought we had a really good case defeat her claim of sexual harassment against this state employee. And we had taken the approach that the best defense is sometimes good offense. We had sued her for defamation, and we wound up, ultimately we wound up settling both cases. She got paid a little bit of money, half of which went to the bankruptcy trustee, and she was definitely not pleased that we had reported her to the bankruptcy trustee for what amounted to bankruptcy fraud. She was never prosecuted for that, but she did have to cough up half of the claim that she'd brought. So, to make a long story short, I'm real familiar both with real claims of sexual harassment and false claims of sexual harassment. And after looking at some of her own text messages, I have a feeling that this is more of the latter than the former. Of course, ultimately, some other fact finder is going to have to judge this, but the person involved, Mel Tucker, the coach, has sued for defamation against and wrongful termination from Michigan State University. And he's sued for, I think, $150 million, which apparently you can do in Michigan. In Missouri, you can sue for a fair and reasonable amount. You can't use a figure in your actual complaint. But in Michigan, apparently you can. So CBS in Detroit has reported some information that I think is pretty interesting, and we're going to focus on the contents of a letter that Mel Tucker's attorney sent to Michigan State University to explain that he would not be attending a Title IX hearing where his conduct was supposedly at issue. Let's take a look at that now. So apparently Jessica Belville, one of his attorneys, wrote a letter to the university saying that Brenda Tracy may not have been forthright with respect to the university. Now, again, I'm not endorsing that claim. I'm not suggesting that that claim is false. I'm just saying this is what Ms. Belville has alleged in her letter to Michigan State University. And she says the evidence completely contradicts Ms. Tracy's claims and suggests that she manipulated a key witness, the university, Mr. Tucker, and the public. You should know that Ms. Tracy's alleged deleted key evidence and provided only self-serving excerpts to the OIE to sustain a claim for harassment that MSU should never have been investigating in the first place. Ms. Tracy pulled the wool over the university's eyes and maligned Mr. Tucker's reputation for personal gain. The letter was 8 pages long, and it was followed by 100 pages of evidence that alleges Ms. Tracy was motivated by personal gain. So these are messages between Ms. Tracy and a gal by the name of Alan Alvarado, her friend and her assistant, and apparently the young lady is now deceased. Tracy told investigators she was single on purpose and doesn't date people in her field, but she had texted Alvarado multiple times about her alleged relationship with Damon Stoudemire, who is currently a head coach at Georgia Tech University. One of those texts says, "Why is every man in my DMs," that's direct messages, "asking me out? It's like they can sense that I'm dating someone already. I will not get distracted. I have a good thing with Damon." This is apparently earlier on in her relationship. And then there were a bunch of messages about her relationship with Mr. Tucker. Brenda says, "Coach Tucker told me he loved me last night. It wasn't weird, though. He made sure I knew it was about being a friend." And Alvarado said, "Well, Coach Tucker isn't going anywhere." And then she said, "He went to some retreat for his birthday, came back all zen. He's one of those in another life." So Alvarado says, "Can't wait till we get to go on retreats." She says, "I know." So Brenda then talks about accepting gifts from him. Says Michigan State might be going to the Rose Bowl or one of the other major ones. We should check this calendar and keep dates open. I know Coach Tucker would give us tickets. And then later she says, "Tucker signed his contract. I can't even wrap my brain around $95 million. Sheesh. Can you imagine around $700,000 going into your account every month?" She says, "I'm going to ask him to finance the doc part of it, whatever that means. He for sure will. And sounds like I'll get booked this spring too, so it's more money." So how did this all come about? Well, a new witness claims that the phone call that apparently Ms. Tracy recorded and that she used to buttress her claim of sexual harassment was consensual. The reporters here note that she is the only witness, including Tracy, who has made a statement under oath. She says that Tracy went to great lengths to get a hold of messages between her and Alvarado so they wouldn't be seen by anybody. As detailed in the new witness's sworn statement, while Ms. Tracy's supposed friend lay dying in a hospital, and even after her death, Ms. Tracy sought to sleep over at Ms. Alvarado's house in her room and repeatedly asked Ms. Alvarado's family for access to her phone and computers. The witness said, "It really struck me odd that she would want Alan's things and would be asking Alan's family for them as Alan lay dying in her hospital bed." So apparently the relationship sort of went sour, and later on she talks a great deal about money. She says, "Money is my only recourse for making him feel like there is punishment, and I can request it be anonymous so that he can't take credit for it," which seems like an odd thing for someone who has really been harassed to do, because you would think she would want to make sure that he took accountability. Then she says, "When they do the money, I should make him pay $10K directly. I'm filing a formal complaint with MSU. In addition, Tracy sent messages to Alvarado acknowledging tax problems that would affect her lawsuit. So apparently I was supposed to be paying down 2018 taxes and not staying caught up on the other years, because now the IRS wants their money. I have to come up with $25,000 over the next 6 weeks. No one told me to pay the earliest year first." As the conversation continued, Tracy also said, "Having the IRS after me in a way that is known publicly surely won't help my lawsuit." Hey, allow me to interrupt for just a second and ask you, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button. That lets YouTube know that this is a good video and they can recommend it to others. It helps me out a lot. Thanks. Well, all of those are messages from her to another person. It is possible that they can be explained. It is possible that the harassment was real. And it is possible that Mr. Tucker is certainly liable for that sexual harassment if it occurred. But what I would tell you is, if I got those messages in and put her up on the stand in front of a jury, I believe that the cross-examination on that would be absolutely brutal. And she would have a hard time explaining that. Now, I think Mr. Tucker is very well represented by lawyers, and I think he's especially smart to have a female lawyer representing him in this situation. And eventually, we're just going to have to see where all of this goes. But I want to make a point, and that is, one of the things about the Me Too movement was that there were a lot of people who came forward because they felt like they couldn't come forward before. Real victims. But as with anything that becomes a trend, and just like, anything that is a defensive weapon can be used as an offensive weapon too, in this situation, the Me Too movement also brought out of the woodworkers the scammers and the people who were never really sexually harassed, but who managed to make it look that way. And of course, it's really important when you are setting up a scam that you don't leave evidence of the scam, which might be the cause for her trying to get these text messages back and the phone, get access to all of that. Now, the lawyers don't identify who this witness is, and neither did the news report that we looked at. So we'll just have to wait and see how this all comes out. But I have to tell you, if indeed she has made a false claim, and if indeed she has done this in a manner so as just to get money, essentially using and treading on his personal reputation as a means and mechanism to get money, not giving a hoot as to whether or not she destroys his reputation, that is just about as low as anything I can imagine. I reserve judgment. I can't wait for it to go through the process. I suspect we will have a resolution on this sooner rather than later. But either way, I do hope that justice is done. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have the opportunity today, do something nice for someone. And of course, if you wouldn't mind, catch me down here at the beach again next time. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.